Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all our 12 Monarchs out there in Monarch Nation. Today's press conference, we also have the ODUSP lunch. We've got our friends from the Port of Virginia here today, and I could have swore I saw the juice man in the back of the room. Is that Ray Wittersham? Yep. Good to have Ray here. Ray, if you don't notice, a couple hours before every home game, meets us when we finish the Monarch March with his container of Tropicana juice. And by tradition, myself and all the players, we have to touch the juice. Ray, we'll see you Saturday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Attaboy. Coming off 37-34 win that would probably take a lot longer than we have today to explain, but very exciting one. It's always challenging in CUSA to win on the road, and to get this win, to beat Western Kentucky for the first time, it was a big one for our program. It was clearly the wildest finish I've ever been involved with in coaching. There were 15 plays run in the final minute 32 of the game. There were 3 plays run in the final 9 seconds of the game, and then there were 3 untimed downs run at the conclusion of the game, meaning there were 0.00 on the clock, and there were penalty situations that allowed for 2 field goal attempts from Western Kentucky, and then our field goal to win it was the 3rd untimed down at the end of the game. And we handled some adversity, some we created ourselves. Throughout this football game, this game was similar to our win against Virginia Tech in that it was always a touchdown game. The difference was we were behind at the end. With 10 minutes to go, trailing 27-19, Blake LaRussa got sacked from the blind side, fumbled. They nearly returned it for a touchdown. Our defense had to come out on the field on our 28-yard line and get a stop, and they did. They got a TFL. They got a sack by Tim Ward. Tim Ward had a couple sacks in this game, and then a stop on 3rd down and forced a punt. That could have been the end of the game there. It could have become 2 scores, and then our offense immediately goes 80 yards to tie it at 27. So now you're 5 minutes left. Western Kentucky drives, scores, makes it a 34-27 game, and that's when down 7, that scenario I mentioned started with 15 plays in the final minute 32. We needed to drive the field with 1 timeout in a minute 32. We scored with 9 seconds to go. We had to use the timeout. We had to actually clock it 1 time. We had to convert a 4th down. So there were multiple opportunities where we could have lost this game, particularly in those final 15 plays. We score to tie it. We kick off. We have a situation where we're in our prevent defense. They've got the ball on their own 30. So with 8 seconds to go, we're not going to allow a deep pass. They run the ball, gain 15 yards with 2 seconds to go, and then we actually stopped them on a pass play, but we had a roughing the passer. And in that situation, they brought the field goal team out late. We had a substitution error. They missed the 57-yarder by 5 yards. That kick was within 5 yards. It landed 5 yards deep in the end zone. The kicker had about a 25 to 30 mile an hour gust behind him, so they attempt another field goal. We go with what we call Harper special. We bring Isaiah Harper in, replace one of our defensive players, and then we set up a wall on our sideline. So on that field goal attempt from 52 yards, when it came up short, it was actually shorter than the first one. Harper caught it on the 1-yard line. Our players beautifully executed the return part of it. Remember, if you're going to attempt a long field goal, you've got a lot of guys on your field goal team that aren't used to tackling. They're not used to covering. There's linemen. Their holder was their punter, the kicker. You've got some guys that just aren't as adept at making the tackle, and our guys blocked it well. Harper got all the way up the sideline, down to about the 16, where he finally got forced out of bounds, but one of their offensive linemen committed a face mask penalty, which again, now the game can't end on a defensive penalty. Remember, they became a defensive team once we started returning the ball half the distance to the goal line, and we kicked the field goal to win it, which was, I think as Ted described, it was just another day, just another game. So to win it that way, guys, and really a historic win. Both of our wins this year have been been interesting to say the least at the end of the game. Special teams wise in this game, obviously the Harper special was the big play, but we punted the ball extremely well again. Bailey Kate, 3 punts, 47-yard average. His last 3 games have been excellent. Nick Rice, 2 for 2 on his field goals. That's 6 in a row for Nick. He hit a 45-yarder in the first half, and then the game winner from 26 yards into a very strong wind. Defensively, it was really a tale of 2 halves. In the first half, we did not play as well as we did in the second half. I felt like in the second half, we were very good on defense. We actually got a safety on defense. We shut them out in the third quarter, and until that last touchdown drive, much improved. Jordan Young, our linebacker, who we had to switch from the backer position to Mike, had 11 tackles in this game. I mentioned Tim Ward with a sack and a half, Jeremy Miser with a half sack. Those are guys who have not had sacks to this point in the season, which has been disappointing and frustrating. It's been primarily O'Shane Zimenez, so to have our other end, Tim Ward, who's been playing with an injury, along with Miser, who's been playing with an injury, have those guys make an impact was very important for our defensive. Offensively, what I'm most pleased with was this is our best game running the football. We rushed the ball for 200 yards minus the sacks in this game. We ended up with 180 total. Keyshawn Strong with 27 carries for 125 yards, a couple touchdowns. He was very patient running the ball, but this is an area we challenged our offensive line, our tight ends, receivers, running backs, that we needed to be more successful running the ball, and we did, to complement another outstanding performance from Blake LaRussa, 21 for 32. 327 yards. He continues to throw the ball well. We continue to catch the ball well. Travis Fulgham with another big game. Duhart, Harper, everybody's pitching in that area in terms of catching the football, and a couple of huge catches at the end in the drive to tie it. Our tight end, Keon White, with a 31-yard catch down the middle. Then we had Isaiah Harper with a 31-yard catch down to the 5 that set up the touchdown. So we continue to perform well in the pass game. It was the run game that got us up over 500 yards in this one. In terms of our opponent this week, Middle Tennessee, they're 4-3 right now. 2 of their losses are to Southeastern Conference teams. They lost to Georgia and they lost to Vanderbilt. Their only league loss was 2 weeks ago at FIU, 24-21. FIU's in first place in the East right now, so this is clearly a very good football team. The players we have to do a really good job against this week. Brent Stockstill, who's Coach Stockstill's son, their head coach. He's an excellent player, 4-year starter for them, coming off an injury he had at the end of the Florida International game. Played last week against Charlotte, was a little bit limited mobility-wise, but he's a very dangerous player. Ty Lee and Patrick Smith, 2 receivers that combined have 60 catches and 7 touchdowns. Defensively, they're active, they're physical, 47 TFLs for 190 yards, 9 sacks, 6 interceptions. It's a defense that's on the move and plays hard. Their defense really came through for them last week in their win at home against Charlotte. They had an interception return to the 15-yard line, an interception return to the 22-yard line that set up 2 of their 3 touchdowns in a game that Charlotte held their offense to 144 yards. So they're playing very well on defense, and this is a game we'll need to play extremely well in to win. Going into the bye week, this is a game we need to put everything we've got into this, and a game I know we'll be very excited to play this weekend, and I will gladly take questions.
Bobby, you told Ed after the game that the Harper special is something you practice each week.
Mm-hmm.
Before the kick 6 in the Iron Bowl in
Right.
2013, were you and other coaches practicing this, or was that the impetus to start practicing?
If we're being completely honest here, probably not. Yeah, I think that started it. Coach Bankins, when did we start practicing this? For those at home, our special teams coordinators sitting back here. When did we start practicing the special?
We've been practicing since day one we got here.
Since Coach Bankins got here, yeah.
And what year was that?
That would be 3 years we've been practicing that.
Okay.
Yeah, for
So
3 years.
Since the kick
Yeah.
stands.
Now, I'd like to say we were practicing before that, but my memory is a little shot right now. But no, to answer your question, that became, everybody became aware of that at that point. And the problem when you do a long field goal in a tie game, that you've got the ball and you already know you have overtime. Okay, so for Western Kentucky, from that standpoint, they have the ball. They can dictate that we're going to go to overtime. When you do that, you're putting yourself in a situation where, you know, we may give them an opportunity to score. Now, if the roles had been reversed and that had happened in that situation, we're going to take we didn't have any timeouts, we're going to take a delay of game. And then we're going to take a knee. And we're going to go to overtime because you don't want to risk what could potentially happen, particularly when you don't have people that are adept at covering and tackling on the field. That's a really difficult situation. And if you go back and watch the play, Dave, one thing you'll notice is that what Harper did a really good job of is he initially, when he caught the ball 1 yard deep, for the first 7 or 8 yards, he started straight up the field, and 8 of their guys in coverage ended up on the right side. Their offensive linemen, their wing, their end, and their punter all ended up to the right side because he set that up, and then he went to our sideline. So again, the point I'm making is that those guys just aren't used to coverage lanes. And what you tell them, we tell our guys the same thing, is you got to fan the field because you don't know where that guy's going. You know, they had no idea if he was going to go left or right. So it's a really risky proposition.
Before the Iron Bowl, were you even aware of the rule that you could return a missed field goal?
Yes. Oh, yeah. The one thing we always cover in practice regardless is if the ball goes across the line of scrimmage, it's dead unless we pick it up and return it. You know, if it's blocked behind the line of scrimmage, you're going to scoop it and try to score and advance it as far as you can. But, yeah, absolutely. That's a live ball. That's once it crosses the line of scrimmage, you know, you've got an opportunity to take that and come back with it.
Coach, you've been known to gamble a couple of different times. When you scored that last touchdown, was there any thought of just going for 2, winning, and getting out of Dodge?
Yeah, long story short, we work with a company called Championship Analytics, and everything in the analytics in this game, because it was predicted to be a close game, the recommendation before the game was to play for overtime. Now, if you go into a game and you're a heavy underdog on the road, that might be your best opportunity to win, then you consider going for 2. But our plan going into it was to play for overtime because we felt like we'd win the game in overtime.
What was the length of time from the point Harper was tackling? You know, at what point did you go from, okay, we're playing
Great
overtime
question.
to, we have a chance to win this thing right here? And they called, you know, the face mask.
Yeah, it was either he had to score on that or we needed a penalty. And when he didn't score, obviously we got the face mask. So, you know, I knew at that point, we knew that we would get the one on time down. And the officials spent a lot of time together talking at that. And I made sure to get right out on the field and help them with that and remind them that the rule was it's a penalty, you get one on time down. And they did a great job with it. You know, they made the call, which that's their job. They're supposed to do it, but you don't always see flags in that situation. And then to get it right, get the spot right, half the distance to the goal line. But once that was the case, it's a free play, so you can do whatever you want. You can run an offensive play, you can kick, and obviously the right thing to do was to kick the field goal and get out of there.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, thank you all for coming. Again, a welcome to our friends from the port. We'll look forward to seeing everybody at homecoming on Saturday at SB Ballard Stadium.